Small businesses don't have the bandwidth to do it. Their staff will leave one voicemail and say, "Oh, it's a bad lead." Biggest challenge that any small business really faces across the board is to change. Period. They have to adapt to change. If you don't change, you're dead. So, right there, $5,000-6,000 is gone if you don't answer that. If you don't respond to a lead or don't answer a call right away. First person who has a meaningful two-way communication with somebody via phone, text, email, chat, DM, or whatever, has a 92% chance of getting them in as a customer.
Hello, everybody in the podcast land, and I welcome you in the business narrative where we explore stories behind success. And today we are joined by a 25 years marketing veteran and president of Ortho Marketing, none other than Dean Steinman. Dean, thank you so much for your precious time.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. Look forward to it.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. And directly, I will jump into the first question. You have been working in the industry from last 2 decades. So, according to you, what is one biggest challenge small businesses consistently facing, and why most businesses are burning out on daily basis?
Biggest challenge that any small business really faces across the board is to change. Period. They have to adapt to change. If you don't change, you're dead. Your business is out of business if you don't change. Analogy that if you're driving down the road and the road changes, are you going to go straight and drive off the road, or are you going to turn and follow the right path? So the biggest challenge every business is facing is adapting to change, accepting it, and then implementing change. And it's the hardest thing to do. It's the scariest thing to do, but it's by far the most important thing to do.
In your previous podcast, you always say this that speed is everything. Can you break down, Dean, for me and for the audience as well, like what sort of financial and reputational cost a business can face while if they missed a call from their clients? Because you have been in the industry, as I mentioned, from last 25 plus years.
Well, it depends upon obviously the industry, but I work in the dental field. And if anybody out there has put braces or Invisalign on your teeth or your kids' teeth, you know how expensive that is. It's somewhere in the US about $5,000-6,000. So right there, $5,000-6,000 is gone if you don't answer that, if you don't respond to a lead or don't answer a call right away. And can you afford to miss $5,000-6,000 every time? And if you're doing some marketing and advertising and your phone rings 4 or 5 times a day, it's $20,000-25,000 potential business that is out the door if you don't respond immediately.
Your point is valid, but do let me know. According to Forbes study, they say that there is 21x% chances for qualifying a lead if you respond them within 5 to 15 to or 30 minutes. Like as you respond earlier, you will get that lead. So, what is the psychology behind it, and why it is so important for marketers to respond to their client on time?
Yeah, just put yourself in the consumer's shoes. I use the analogy all the time. If you want to go to a restaurant tonight and you go to their website and there's no place for you to book it, so you fill out a form or you call and you leave a message. How long are you going to wait before you go to pick another restaurant? Not long. Okay, it's speed to lead. The first person who has a meaningful two-way communication with somebody via phone, text, email, chat, DM, or whatever, has a 92% chance of getting them in as a customer. All right, but you have to do it within, as you said, the most, literally 2, 3, 5 minutes. All right, so it's speed to lead, and you've got to respond immediately because there are so many options out there. No matter what industry you're in, if you're a plumber, if you're a restaurant, if you're a car dealer, if you're a dentist, whatever it is, the competition is growing and growing and growing. And if you don't respond quickly, you lost them. That's it. The first person to meaningful have a two-way communication with them has a 90% chance of getting them in as a customer. And then it's up to you, once you get them in, the butts in the seats, it's up to you to obviously close them if you're good at it, and your services will speak and results will speak for itself. But you got to just line them up. You got to do it, and you got to respond immediately.
Uh-huh. So let me dive into the marketing part because as a veteran marketer and as a veteran content creator, you have seen both things very closely. So, what is your take on it on traditional marketing versus modern marketing, and especially with the rise of AI tools?
In my eyes, it has to be a nice, equal percentage across the board. You have to have the human touch, and you have to embrace technology and AI and automation and technologies there. So you have to do both. My eyes, I don't think that the human will ever be taken out of the equation, but you have to learn on what you're doing and and how to drive that car. I'm a big analogy guy. I'm not going to get into an Uber that drives itself. Okay, I'm not going to do that yet. All right. But I will get into a car that's a smart car and will be able to tell you, be able to not go into another lane and hit another car or not hit or have really good reactions. Okay. But I'm not going to let the car drive myself. All right. So if you run a business, you have to adapt to AI and technology and automation. But at the same time, you have to have a nice percentage of old school touch. You have to build up your brand. If you're, a business and it's about you. If you're, Joe Plumber, well, you got to promote Joe, not an AI agent. Okay, and AI agents can obviously, facilitate it and give you stamp of approval and help expand your reach. But it's all about you have to have the right person driving the car, or putting together the technologies, putting the message out there, and then using technology smart. So the answer is, in my eyes, it's a combination of the two. If you're using just doing it yourself, you're dead. And if you use an AI by itself, it's not ready yet to do that in my eyes. But so you have to have a nice mix in order to get the perfect recipe.
Okay, so I came to know that you are working on business automation, and with latest AI tools, you are working on them to cover labor gaps. So, like how these AI tools are covering labor gaps, and how they are providing response 24/7 to customers. Can you share a little bit your experience? Like, have you missed any of customers by automating your business with these tools?
You have to have the right strategy in place. What we do here at Ortho Marketing is we saw the biggest hole in the dental practice is the staff. They just don't have the bandwidth to answer calls, to follow up, to do what they need to do. So what we do is we have a call center. So we answer the calls for our practices during the business hours with real live people. But then after hours is when we have AI come in, because it's not going to be as many responses, and the volume will be down. So we want to make sure that you're always covered. So we want to make sure that 24/7 your emails, phone, chats, texts, DMs are responded to. So you have to have the right, again, recipe in place. And ideally, if after hours, you might only be 15, 20, 25% of your leads and business calls, but can you afford to lose 25% of new business because you're not there to answer it or respond back or have a automation in place? So, ideally what I've found is a combination of the two, making sure that live people are there and responding and using technology and working smart. And then AI is also there to make sure that every other aspect is covered across the board.
You have mentioned that there should be a complete recipe. Like, what are the main ingredients of that recipes that humans can use technology proper for the betterment of their business and create new strategies for to elevate their business in this modern era? Because you have working in the industry from last 25 years, that is the most important thing, because people think that they will going to get success overnight.
It's a lot more than just answering. It's also following up and reaching out to people, because I don't know about you, Arm, but when my phone rings, I don't answer it much at all. Unless I know who the person is, I don't answer it. And most people don't. So we found that from, at least in the dental industry, that from our statistics, we have a really, which we answer hundreds of phones and leads every day, that it takes that 40% of people who book at a practice have to be reached out to 5 or more times. Let me say that again. 40% of people takes 5 or more touches for them to come in. That's a lot. And 99% of small businesses don't have the bandwidth to do it. Their staff will leave one voicemail and say, "Oh, it's a bad lead." No, it's not. You have to email, call, text, chat with them every day for a week. And then from there, if you don't hear back, you change your message and you automate it and do it every week. And then if that doesn't work, then you go to every other week. You keep doing it until you say no, and you automate it. They're using technology and using AI and automations, but you have to continually reach out to people over and over and over again. So once again, I found that 40% of people who come into a dental office for a procedure takes 5 or more touches, and that's a lot.
You have interacted with all types of customers. So, as an entrepreneur, uh, what is the importance of having patience in your personality, and how you can develop your personality like a leader to lead people, your team in critical situations?
You need to stand out in a crowd, no matter what business you're in, a restaurant, a dentist, electrician, a car dealer, whatever it is, you have competition. All right. And how do you stand out? So it's real important that when you do communicate your message to people, that you have what's called a differentiator. You can't just do the same thing everybody else does. And most people, like I mentioned at the very beginning, change. All right. So if you're doing something for 10, 15, 20 years, well, you can't do the same thing anymore because times have changed. The landscape has changed, the competition has changed, pricing has changed, technology has changed. So you need to adapt to it. So, anybody that's listening to this, adapt to change and figure out how to position yourself. If you're a business owner, you're a marketing company, whoever it is gonna, listen to this, take a step back, figure out what makes you different and how can you say that. At the same time, take one more step back, and how can you have your customers say how good you are? It's called social proof. You could crow to the cows come home that you're the best and the best, and we do this and that, but let your customers speak to their colleagues and their peers and let them say how great you are. And using testimonials and using, real results are super, super important. And people just don't see that happening. I don't see that happening from them doing it themselves. And that's where a company like mine steps in, is we are able to put that together for you. Focus on what you do best and work with an expert. I like to, again, big analogy guy, don't put a roof on yourself, hire a roofer. Okay. If you're going to get braces, don't put it on yourself. Go to an orthodontist. If you're going to get marketing, don't do it yourself. Hire a marketing expert. That's what they're there for. And hopefully they understand how to make a difference for you. So change, adapt, and position yourself is the key now.
We had a lot of things to discuss, but before leaving, any message you want to give to all those entrepreneurs who are struggling or juggling around, but they are not getting the desired results? What is one message you want to give to all of them so that they can scale their business, so that they can get desired results?
Write down 2 things that you think you can do differently today. All right. And then do one of them. All right. What can you do differently? What is your pain? What's causing you what are you afraid of? What's stopping you from hitting your goals? So write down 2 things: what your goals are, what your pain is, what you can't think you can accomplish. And try to figure out, all right, how can I do one of them? So that's it. Just take a course of action, think positive, and believe in yourself. If you can't do it, who will? Who will? So if you run a business, and it takes a very unique person to run a business. My dad always said, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And it's not easy, believe me. So take a step back, write down 2 goals, 2 issues, and see if you can tackle one today. That's my push for you today, if anybody watching and listening to this.
Thank you so much, Dean, for your precious time. And I hope all the viewers will going to love the podcast. This was a masterclass by Dean Steinman on delivering value to your customers, how to respond to your customers, and how to deal with them. And I hope you will going to love the podcast. If you love the podcast, do subscribe the channel, press the bell icon. We will be going to meet you in the next podcast. Till then, keep daring, keep listening to the business narrative.